Hey freaks, this week on Vegan Freak Radio, vegetarians on Letterman, losing your veginity, fist fighting for charity. We talk about all of this plus your emails and voicemails on Vegan Freak Radio number 68 for the 26th of April, 2007.
Coming to you from high atop their elite fortress of moral superiority, here are your protein-deficient hosts, Bob and Jenna.
Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Bob.
And Jenna.
And we're back again for another week of Vegan Freak Radio. Sorry about last week. We were busy, we were traveling, we were out of town.
Yes, we were, all those things.
We were indeed. So it was difficult for us to get a show together. It would have been crap. And this is our second crack at doing show number 68. We sat down yesterday to do show number 68. We sat here for a whole hour trying, and in that hour we recorded only 20 minutes of show.
Yeah, because, well, we had the window open because it was really hot in here.
It was warm.
And that was an invitation for the dogs to stare out the window and then bark at everything that went past.
Yeah, any and everything. A leaf blowing by on the front lawn, was suddenly like the most interesting thing in the world and had to be barked at.
Yeah.
And it was insanity.
Yeah, and it would have been fine if it were a long distance, barking, but it was very, very loud and doing nasty things to our equipment.
It was making the levels clip.
Yes.
Everything was clipping. Red all over the place in
Yeah.
the lever. It was just a mess, complete mess.
So.
And I don't know, we were kind of in a bad mood collectively. It happens. I know.
happens.
Some of you say that you appreciate the shows when we were angry and grumpy at each other, but they're less fun for us. So, and I don't know. We just kind of sit here and get grumpy. But anyway, today we're in much better shape. So we've got an exciting show for you. A lot of things to play for you today, a lot of things to talk about. But before we get into the kind of heart of the show, I wanted to do a couple quick announcements. First, those of you who have been listening to the show for a while might remember show number 40, where we did the vegan music show. On that show, we had Breakbeat Ninja, and he wanted us to announce that he has an album coming out. And you can find out more information about his album at myspace.com/breakbeatninja, Ninjah. So go there and check that out. You may recall we played one of his tracks, two of his tracks on that show, didn't we? One or two?
I don't remember.
Anyway, one of the tracks we played on the show, I think The Blue Desert, is also available at that MySpace page. You can get more info on the album. You can order it at breakbeatninja.com and all that stuff. So there you go. That's one thing. Another thing is Jen and I were both recently in Boston, and I was there for a photo shoot of all things. I practiced my Zoolander-ish blue steel. And anyway, it was for a project, actually, an art project where this guy named Dave Kimmelberg takes pictures of heavily tattooed professionals, both before and after, in a sense. Not before and after. I mean, it has the feel of a before and after, but he takes pictures of the professionals dressed in their professional garb and of them dressed in their kind of regular, everyday street wear. And the idea is that, in the professional garb, you probably can't see the tattoos, but in the everyday streetwear, of course, you can. So I went and did that, and it was actually kind of interesting. He's coming out with a book, and then you might want to check out his site, too. It is inked, INKEDINC.com. Actually a cool project, because you can see that, different kinds of people who get tattoos, and there's doctors and lawyers and all kinds of stuff up on the site. And it was interesting. If he has a book that's kind of cool, so go check that out.
Yeah. And we also have news about Dinos Book. Will be shipping shortly. It will hopefully be going off to the printers next week. So it will be shipping very soon after that.
It'll hopefully be back from the printers next week.
Well, yeah.
So anyway, Dinos Book will be around soon for those of you that have the orders. We should have it out. We thought we'd have it out by the end of the month. It'll be pretty close.
Yep.
Probably just in the beginning days of May, somewhere in there, we'll have them all shipped out. And also, I kind of noticed lately that a whole bunch of abolitionist blogs are popping up. James Crump has one. Roger Yates, Ariix, I guess is how you say her name. I don't know. Joanne, whatever. She has her blog is interesting because it does all the entries are in French and English, and she recently had an interesting fight there with a PETA supporter. So that's worth checking out. I will post links to all those in the show notes.
Alrighty then.
You don't seem very talkative today, J-Dog.
I'm tired. It's Friday.
You just had a coffee.
I know. Well, I also just got back from work.
Well, what do you think I did all day?
I know, but you didn't have to talk to people. It drains me.
Yeah, I see.
So,
in a way, I actually miss teaching a little bit.
yeah, I can see how.
I don't miss grading. I will never miss grading, but I miss teaching a little. Anyway, before we get into kind of the vegan aspects of the show, I heard something recently that I had to share with you, our kind and gentle audience. And I'm hesitant to share it because it's not really about what the show is about. But on the other hand, it is so absurd, and I think it's so telling of the kind of political forces that are happening, that are exerting control over the United States at this point, that it's really worth having a listen to. Now, I suspect it was worldwide news that there was a mass shooting in the United States in Virginia, 31 or 2?
33, including the shooter.
33 people died in this shooting. And, of course, all different kinds of political interests have seized upon the shooting to, of course, advance their own agenda. And, you get the pro-gun, the anti-gun lobby, and everybody. I've actually heard people say, well, if everybody were armed, there would have been no shooting, which is an absurd notion to me. But in any case, one of the most absurd things I've heard is from the American Family Institute. I think that's who this is. You should just listen to this. It's about 3.5 minutes long. Just have a little listen.
Dear God, why didn't you save the school children at Moses Lake, Washington, Bethel, Alaska, Pearl, Mississippi, West Paducah, Kentucky, Stamp, Arkansas, Jonesboro, Arkansas, Edinburgh, Pennsylvania, Fayetteville, Tennessee, Springfield, Oregon, Richmond, Virginia, Littleton, Colorado, Tabor, Alberta, Canada, Conyers, Georgia, Deming, New Mexico, Fort Gibson, Oklahoma, Santee, California, El Cajon, California, Blacksburg, Virginia. Sincerely, Concerned Student. Reply: Dear Concerned Student, I am not allowed in schools. Sincerely, God. How did this get started? I think it started when Madalyn Murray O'Hair complained she didn't want any prayer in our schools, and we said, okay. Then someone said you better not read the Bible in school. The Bible says, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, and love your neighbor as yourself. And we said, okay. Dr. Benjamin Spock said we shouldn't spank our children when they misbehave, because their personalities would be warped, and we might damage their self-esteem. And we said, an expert should know what he's talking about, so we won't spank them anymore. Then someone said, teachers and principals better not discipline our children when they misbehave. And the school administrator said, no faculty member in this school better touch a student when they misbehave, because we don't want any bad publicity, and we surely don't want to be sued. And we accepted their reasoning. Then someone said, let's let our daughters have abortions if they want, and they won't even have to tell their parents. And we said, that's a grand idea. Then some wise school board member said, since boys will be boys and they're going to do it anyway, let's give our sons all the condoms they want so they can have all the fun they desire, and we won't have to tell their parents they got them at school. And we said, that's another great idea. Then some of our top elected officials said, it doesn't matter what we do in private as long as we do our jobs. And we said, it doesn't matter what anybody, including the president, does in private as long as we have jobs and the economy is good. And someone else took that appreciation a step further and published pictures of nude children, and then stepped further by making them available on the internet. And we said, everyone's entitled to free speech. And the entertainment industry said, let's make TV shows and movies that promote profanity, violence, and illicit sex. And let's record music that encourages rape, drugs, murder, suicide, and satanic themes. And we said, it's just entertainment, and it has no adverse effect, and nobody takes it seriously anyway. So go right ahead. Now we're asking ourselves why our children have no conscience, why they don't know right from wrong, and why it doesn't bother them to kill strangers, classmates, or even themselves. Undoubtedly, if we thought about it long and hard enough, we could figure it out. Surely it has a great deal to do with we reap what we sow.
I'm going to have to go ahead and sort of disagree with you there.
What do you think, Jenna? You look really pissed. That's the first time you've listened to that all the way through, isn't it?
I've heard most of it here and there.
Yeah.
Listening on Michelangelo Signorelli was playing some of it.
Yeah, I know.
It's infuriating.
But it's so, I actually think it's kind of funny because it's so absurd.
It's so absurd. It's like, no, it doesn't have anything to do with the fact that, people can't get mental health care.
Yeah.
It's not a priority in this country at all. It's so difficult to get actual help if you need it. And the fact that, in Virginia, just about anybody can get a gun.
I think that's what he should have. Someone said we should have guns, and so we made laws to let anybody have a gun. I mean, he doesn't say that. So
no, it's all because we can't beat our children in school,
right? And it's all the abortionists.
Yeah, them too.
We told our daughters, go ahead and have abortions.
I'm surprised you didn't pick on the uppity feminists. They usually do.
Yeah, they do. The feminazis. I'm surprised.
Well, I mean, I guess that was sort of all contained in there when we were talking about the abortion. And
it's all in there.
Yeah,
it's all in there. Yeah. They didn't go after immigrants though.
No,
I didn't hear any immigrant. I didn't hear anything like, well, someone said we should open our borders, and we did. They didn't say that.
Yeah. Oh, and it's all Bill Clinton's fault too.
Oh, right,
yeah,
right.
Don't forget that.
Yeah, Bill Clinton. I don't like Bill Clinton, so let's get that on the table. But the guy gets a blowjob, and
No, it's Bush, the downfall of Western society. Apparently,
well, Bush did cocaine and was an alcoholic for 10 years in his 30s and into his early 40s. He turned 40 is when he found Jesus and decided he wasn't going to do that anymore. And it was all youthful indiscretion. Apparently, youth, when you're upper middle class, extends until you're 40. Mm-hmm. I just think the whole thing, I actually think it's kind of disgusting because what it does is it argues that the reason that we have these shootings is because there's no prayer in school. What? Because we allow people to have abortions. What? The whole thing is absurd through and through to the core.
And these are the same people then that go to the funerals of the victims of these shootings and protest.
Well, I don't think it's the American Family Institute, but the people who
like them,
who enjoy this kind of rhetoric, indeed. Right. Yeah. And, I don't know. I mean, this is pretty crazy stuff. So following up on a couple weeks ago, we played stuff from Jesus Camp, and I thought, we got to know what's going on out there. You can try to ignore this stuff, but that doesn't mean it's not happening.
I know. It just makes me angry. I'm not allowed to get angry about it.
You're absolutely allowed to get angry about it, but you never let me watch or listen to any of it.
Because it makes me angry. And I already have plenty of stuff in my life that makes me angry.
Do you really? You don't have a happy life?
I do have a happy life, but there's so much out there that's just so infuriating.
Anger is damaging, Jenna. You're becoming what we hate.
No, but then I harness that anger in good ways.
Thus, we're on the radio
exactly. Right now. Trying to make the world a more vegan-friendly place.
In general? I'm more interested in equality. I mean, in general.
Of course.
Well,
that goes along with, being more vegan-friendly.
Cool. All right. So, what are we doing now? The news?
The news.
Let's move into some news.
Okay. This actually has been, percolating through the news for the past couple of weeks now. Actually, past couple of months. There's been a lot of articles about bees lately because they're apparently dying off in large numbers, and it's worrying. And it should be worrying to vegans because apparently bees are basically responsible for our entire food supply.
But even if they weren't responsible for our entire food supply, wouldn't we want to care?
Of course we would.
Okay.
But yeah, so vegans should care about it, A, because of the food supply, and B, because basically what happens is we're factory farming bees. And I think that has a lot to do with their downfall. But that's my opinion. Anyway, and
you're an entomologist.
I am. I've taken an entomology course.
I used to work in an entomology lab.
I know. Actually, probably with the people who are mentioned in this article.
One that dealt with bees, in fact.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Right. Anyway, this is from the New York Times, this one. It's one of the more recent ones from April 24th. It says, bees vanish and scientists race for reasons. It says, what is happening to the bees? More than a quarter of the country's 2.4 million bee colonies have been lost. Tens of billions of bees, according to an estimate from the Apiary Inspectors of America, a national group that tracks beekeeping. So far, no one can say what is causing the bees to become disoriented and fail to return to their hives. As with any great mystery, a number of theories have been posed, and many seem to researchers to be more science fiction than science. People have blamed genetically modified crops, cellular phone towers, and high-voltage transmission line for the disappearances. Now, I don't think that's such science fiction. How do we know that they're not causing these kinds of things?
We have no idea.
No, and I think that every avenue should be investigated.
And if they were good scientists, they wouldn't close those avenues off by discriminating against them because they believe it has a sci-fi feel to it.
Right, or because they don't want to actually hear that might be the cause. Heaven forbid, if we didn't have our cell phone towers, what the hell would people do? They'd be mass riots.
Really? Everybody, I'm so tired of cell phones. My God. Everybody, I see them all the time talking on their goddamn cell phones. What are you talking about, people? What are you possibly talking about all the time? I see people all the time talking on these cell phones in the grocery store, in the car. Students walk out of my class and flip them open. What are you doing? Like, what are you all doing on the cell phones? You're killing the bees.
Yeah. You never know. You might be.
No, we have no idea.
You might be giving yourself brain cancer for all we know, too.
Well, that's fine if that's what they want to do. I mean, no, people should be entitled to give themselves brain cancer if they wish.
Sure. Anyway. So scientists are looking into why this might be the case, and the most likely suspects they think are a virus, a fungus, or a pesticide. And so the entomologists at Penn State are one of the largest groups. It says genetic testing at Columbia University has revealed the presence of multiple microorganisms in bees from hives or colonies that are in decline, suggesting that something is weakening their immune system. The researchers have found that some fungi in the affected bees that are found in humans whose immune systems have been suppressed by the acquired immune deficiency syndrome or cancer. So it's like bee AIDS.
Well, it's like an organism that will be present in someone with a compromised immune system.
Right. So their immune system is compromised, and then that they actually don't die of that; they die because of all the other diseases that they get.
Right.
So it says honeybees are arguably the insects that are most important to the human food chain. They are the principal pollinators of hundreds of fruits, vegetables, flowers, and nuts. The number of bee colonies has been declining since the 1940s, even as the crops that rely on them, such as California almonds, have grown. In October, about the time that beekeepers were experiencing huge bee losses, a study by the National Academy of Sciences questioned whether American agriculture was relying too heavily on one type of pollinator, the honeybee. Bee colonies have been under stress in recent years as more beekeepers have resorted to crisscrossing the country with 18-wheel trucks full of bees in search of pollination work. These bees may suffer from a diet that includes artificial supplements, concoctions akin to energy drinks, and power bars. In several states, suburban sprawl has limited the bees' natural forage areas. So far, the research has discounted this possibility that poor diet alone could be responsible for the widespread losses. They've also set aside for now the possibility that the cause could be bees feeding from a commonly used genetically modified crop, Bt corn, because the symptoms typically associated with toxins such as blood poisoning are not showing up in the affected bees. But researchers emphasize today that feeding supplements produced from genetically modified crops, such as high fructose corn syrup, need to be studied. So basically what's happening is that they're factory farming bees.
Right.
They're putting them under all kinds of stress because of the food, because of the habitat, and by moving them all over the place. And then they wonder why they're having problems.
It almost is like the part of the plot of that movie. Damn, I can't remember it now. It's like, it's what bees need. What movie was that? Damn, where they were feeding energy drink to the crops.
Oh, Idiocracy?
Idiocracy.
Yeah.
So it's like they're feeding energy drink to bees.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you haven't seen Idiocracy, it's really stupid,
It is
but
really
it's
dumb.
funny.
Yeah, it's kind of scary in a way.
It's actually a little,
Yeah.
it's, I think it's
A little
prescient.
worrying.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff though. I mean, again, the whole idea of factory farming bees, it's, 18-wheeler trucks full of bees. These are going to be the side effects when you try to squeeze animals into these kinds of over-rationalized systems in which they wouldn't normally live.
Exactly. And, I mean, it's a bad idea for any kind of monoculture, whether it be plants or animals, and especially in the case of animals, because they can't do the things that they naturally do.
Absolutely.
So this is what happens this is why bird flu is, a problem in bird flocks, is because they're all genetically similar.
Yep.
Because they need to be that way to be able to stuff them into cages, and to turn them into automatons.
Machines for the production of
exactly.
profit.
We've actually talked about this before with pigs and cows, and this is what happens. And it's not a good idea to have a huge monoculture of crops either, but at least with plants, it's not like it's going against their natural kind of thing. It's they're plants.
Yeah, but I mean, there's still downsides to monoculture of plants as well.
Yeah.
Reductions in biodiversity and all that.
Exactly.
So there are plenty of downsides to monocultural cropping of plants, in addition to the fact that monoculture in the plant world requires increased inputs in terms of fertilizers and what do you call those things? Pesticides, thank you.
Right. That's why they need more pesticides, is because they're all genetically identical. So if one pest comes through that can wipe out one of them, it can wipe out all of them.
Yep.
Anyway, but another part of this article is that one of the things that they're looking at is a pesticide. I forget what it's called. It's around here somewhere. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Made by this company Bayer in Germany, and of course they're denying it. Of course. No, it's completely safe.
Yeah.
Even though France has already banned it because they were worried it was doing bad things to bees.
Pesticides would never be bad for us. Chemicals are our friends.
Of course.
Well, that's they said in the 1950s, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly. DDT, totally safe. No problems.
I had, actually, speaking of entomology, I was an agricultural science major. You know that, but some of our listeners do not. I had to take an entomology class as part of I had to take several, actually, as part of my agricultural training. And when I took the class, we were showed a film, on one of those old reel-to-reel film things, it makes a really loud noise. And it showed a chemist and his wife who took pills of DDT every day for, I think, a month or something. I forget exactly how long. It was one of these old, like, DDT proven safe, one of those, like, and there was a chemist on there and his wife, and they took DDT pills every day for a certain amount of time to prove that it was in fact safe at that level. Now they're probably completely dead, and
Well, yeah.
or their bodies
Cancer.
probably have not rotted yet
Right.
in the grave. But no, I do actually remember seeing a film on that and talking about. That's actually where I first learned about LD50 testing and all that stuff.
Yeah, me too. I took basic entomology.
LD50 testing is really horrible for those of you that don't know about
it
vivisection. But we won't really go into that here. But you're right, Jenna. Who would ever think that pesticides would be bad for us?
Yeah. Yeah, but it's amazing really how much they can screw up the agricultural system.
Absolutely.
And they're toying with everyone's food supply. It's really scary.
It is. But, that same supply is also controlled by a handful of people who
Exactly.
use the whole system for profit.
Exactly.
It's disgusting.
It is disgusting, and it's why you need to buy local food when you can.
It is.
Because
Absolutely.
they don't monoculture, they do all these great things.
Some do.
Well, some do, but less often.
True. You want to buy, local food is better. Just also in terms of the miles that it's traveled, local food is better. So we'll move on to our next article.
Yes.
Our next article I just want to talk about very briefly here is that there's been a big meat recall after an E. coli outbreak. 100,000 pounds of frozen beef was recalled because 3 children in Napa, California fell ill with E. coli poisoning after eating hamburgers at Little League concession stands. And it's your typical E. coli contamination story. We don't need to go into the specifics of it. Those of you that are vegan know these stories and hear them all the time and know why they happen, right? They're shit in the meat. Let's just lay it on the line. They're shit in the meat. What is interesting about this, though, is that the meat that was recalled is almost a year old, right? This stuff was slaughtered and produced, ground up almost a year ago. That is disgusting. It's disgusting to begin with, but it's even more disgusting that this shit's a year old almost.
I know.
What the hell?
Yeah. I always remember reading, how long you're supposed to keep things in the freezer for, and it was never more than like 2 months.
Yeah, I don't really know. Actually, this came, I grabbed the article for this off of our forums. Mary Sue had kind of posted, it's like, I forget the title of her thread. It was funny though. It was like, is it about time or something, like, or is it that old or something like that? But it was, a year is a very long time. So crazy stuff. And E. coli poisoning is really horrible.
Oh yeah.
It'll fuck you up bad.
Yeah.
It'll really
if you
screw you
want
up.
some really graphic descriptions of what E. coli can do to you, read the book Slaughterhouse.
Slaughterhouse talks about it.
In graphic detail.
In very graphic detail. It talks about how essentially it liquefied the organs of several children who were really, really high doses.
Yeah,
of
the back in the Jack in the Box
Yeah.
episode. Yeah, that's
Horrible.
nasty.
So I just wanted to mention that quickly to say that people always say that they could not fathom not eating meat, but I think, dude, the meat's a fucking year old.
I know.
Ew.
It's just another sign that people have no idea what gets the food to their plate. Like what happens to the food before it gets to the plate.
And they don't
have
want to know
no clue.
anyway.
They don't want to know.
They don't want to know. Most people don't want to know. Some people do.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I find the whole thing really sick. Another thing I find sick, I read Boing Boing. Those of you who probably know, I don't know. It's like one of the default feeds in a lot of feed readers that I use. But anyway, I read it pretty often. And they recently had this thing on there where they talked about these Korean dishes, where you actually get the fish and it's still squirming. So it's really disgusting. And I went to one of the pages and looked, and there was there's this video that some, culinary adventurist hipster motherfucker had taken where the fish is completely cut open, laying on a plate, right? And, all the flesh of the fish is there. And then the guy who's taking the video zooms in on the face of the fish, and the eye is moving and twitching while the fish is alive on the plate, and people are picking off of the fish. Isn't that horrible?
That's disgusting. That's torture.
It is torture. I think that's so horrible. I mean, I watched it this morning. It made me mad. It made me feel angry with humanity.
Yeah.
I have moments like that.
Of course. People do some really sick shit.
They do. But anyway, let's move on to something a little more interesting and entertaining, perhaps.
Okay.
So anyway, I'm on UPC. What are they? United Poultry Concerns. I was blanking on the acronym there. In any case, I'm on United Poultry Concerns mailing list, and I got an email from them saying that Ira Glass, who is the host of a radio show called This American Life, it's kind of a documentary radio show. For those of you that live outside the U.S., you get a podcast of it. I think it's thislife.org or something, probably. It's a good show in general, but Ira Glass is the host of this show, and This American Life has also been moved to a television show. So he's on Letterman to discuss the television show, and he says some things that I think are kind of interesting, and I thought we should talk about. So we'll let this clip go. It's about 5 minutes long, but give it a listen, and we'll stop along the way, or maybe we'll just talk about it all when it's done. But we'll be here.
Tell me this story about the chicken lady, the chicken rights advocate, the woman who is upset about annual coverage of poultry consumption at holiday seasons.
Yeah, well, this came out of we got protested. We got protested on the radio show, and when you're on public radio, like the kinds of things people will protest you for and write to you angrily about will be the grammar of your sentences often and things like that. But there was a period where for several years actually, this woman named Karen Davis, who runs like a poultry advocacy group, she was upset because every Thanksgiving we would do, like during the highest poultry consumption months of the year, which are your Thanksgiving and your Christmas, we would do every year we would do a show about turkeys and chickens and ducks and poultry, and we called it the Poultry Slam after the Poetry Slam, which is a Chicago institution, and they were really, really angry, and they organized letter writing campaigns where they wrote to us, they wrote to our underwriters, they wrote to our network, they wrote to all the member stations, they wrote to me personally. I would get mail at home from people, very, very angry chicken advocates, because they said that they said just the name of the show, slam. It's like you're saying like chickens are bad and we should slam them, and then. In the show, there was a documentary show, and so people in the show people who had raised chickens would say that chickens are kind of, they don't have a personality, and you don't really bond with a chicken when you raise a chicken. And like I don't know, like I'm from the suburbs, you know what I mean? Like I don't know, like from raising chickens. And so we, we're reporters, like we put them on saying this. They're like no. And Karen Davis, she was saying like no. By saying that, what you're doing is that you're making it possible for people to eat chickens because you just see them as these creatures with no personalities. And I just felt like, do you know what I mean? Like if you're a chicken activist, like, do you know what I mean? Like, you like look around. It's Armageddon. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Do you know? You know what I mean? And you think to yourself, where can we draw like what's going on? It's like there's commercials on TV that of people like happily like eating chicken and like with their kids, and there's jingling music, and like someday when the chickens are free, they'll show those in the little Chicken Armageddon Museum, like see what it was like back in the day when people ate chicken, and okay, so how can we stop this? How can we stop it? Well, there's a little public radio show in Chicago. They're saying this thing. That's the linchpin that's running the whole business. If we can just stop that public radio show, it just seemed like such terrible activism.
Were you ever able to sort of step to the other side of the discussion and kind of did it change your view in any way?
Well, she kept saying you've got it wrong. You've got it wrong. Like chickens, you've got it wrong. Chickens actually have personalities, and if you would come to my house, you would see I have these chickens, and so I was like, I don't know, like I'm a reporter, right? Like, so I was like, okay, maybe we got this wrong, and so I went to her house in Eastern Maryland. There was a lot of poultry production in Purdue Farms and all these poultry places, and it's funny, like she had 50, 100 chickens in her backyard penned in, and a lot of them were like, there's a lot of poultry production, and when the poultry trucks are going to the plant to be slaughtered, occasionally chickens will escape, and like they'll be like runaway chickens. They're like runaway slave chickens. You know what I mean? And the Underground Railroad brings them to this lady. Like these were the. Do you know what I mean? would bring these runaway chickens, these completely free spirit chickens to her, and then and so she had all these different chickens in her backyard. And I don't know if you've been around many chickens.
Not more than usually one sautéed breast at a time.
And so I met her chickens, and and I got all credit to her. Like, it turns out they have, they don't, like, they're the outgoing ones and they're the shy ones, and they're like, they do. I'm here to tell you
and
that
has it changed your dietary interests?
Well, yeah. Well, as a matter of fact, absolutely. Yeah, I actually, and every time after that, I would have a piece of chicken. I would think back to her chickens and the shy ones and the outgoing ones, and I would think, is this the last piece of chicken I'm going to eat? And then eventually it was the last. Like, and
you did stop eating
I became
chicken.
a vegetarian because of that woman.
Wow.
She got the last laugh on me.
Wow, how about that? The power of your own show affecting you. Kind of.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
This American Life, Thursdays, 10:30 showtime. Congratulations, Ira.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you. My best.
Okay. Jenny, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I know that so far the feedback, I haven't read the thread on the forums at all.
Okay.
I've been staying away from it on purpose.
Why?
So it didn't cloud what I wanted
Cloud
to say.
your perception and your judgment?
But from what you tell me, people think it's mostly positive.
So far, I mean, the things I'd read, yeah.
And I think it is and it isn't. In a
Dime
way.
wapa.
I don't know. It's just like, the whole playing it for laughs is kind of annoying to me. Like the fact that they kept laughing at chicken activist and the way they phrased it, the chicken activist.
Yeah, and also this is an audience who's, probably 80% of them have chicken in their stomach at that moment.
Probably.
Or more.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know. The fact that he was saying that's the first thing that bothered me. And he was making Karen Davis sound absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess from the other side, a poultry advocate would be ridiculous, I guess.
This is true.
So, I mean, right. But, I mean, at least he was engaging. He's a good storyteller, or else he wouldn't have the radio show that he has.
Yeah.
But I guess the other part is that he sounded kind of embarrassed to be a
did sound
vegetarian. And I think that's what bothered me even more is that, he's like, okay, you had this experience and your life was changed and you became a vegetarian because of what you learned. Own it.
Yeah.
Don't be embarrassed by it. You change your perceptions, and that's a good thing.
It is. It is.
And I've heard this from other stars, I think in things I've read from Moby and that kind of thing, he almost apologizing for being it. It's just the way Ira stutters at the end is I don't know. It's not something to be ashamed of, people.
And he's like, and but on the other hand, you could look at it from this perspective. Here is someone who is on a show that is syndicated really, in all of North America, talking about vegetarianism and the reason and his connection with an animal and how that got him to go vegetarian.
Yeah, and I know. And so it's actually, that's what the good part is that, he making it seem like even he thought this was completely ridiculous, but okay, I'm going to go find out about it. And he actually changed his mind. So I think this regular guy, this Ira guy who can do it. So that way it is good.
It's funny too, because he says he said that what they did was horrible activism, but actually he proves them very wrong by being on Letterman talking about the activism.
Exactly.
And that proves that it's not horrible activism. I don't know. I mean, I was kind of drawn on my preference would have been for it not to have been as much of a joke. I mean, I understand that that's an entryway for a lot of people into the humor of it, but
right.
I think most people will look at that as the fuck was that? God damn, I hate Windows. Anyway, the point that I'm getting at here is that I think a lot of people we'll just go, yeah, whatever, shrug it off and walk away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's good because, these kinds of things, what they're going to talk about on Letterman is, of course, decided ahead of time. And the fact that he wanted to tell that anecdote in particular is interesting, that he wanted to bring it out there. And so that's good.
That is a plus.
Yeah.
That is a plus. So I think on the whole, it's not a bad thing. I wish he were a vegan, though.
That's our next letter writing campaign. Ira, you need to be a vegan.
We should send him a copy of Vegan Freak.
Yeah.
He would fucking hate it.
Yeah, he would.
Probably. I mean, he's on public radio. Our book is not public radio friendly.
No,
we make fun of people.
Listen to NPR.
You like it?
Well, we listen to NPR. So
yeah.
So in case anybody gets mad at us, we do listen to NPR as well.
People get really. we make fun of like kind of older middle. We make fun of kind of upper middle class, ex-hippie liberal types in our book, right? On the yet by all conventional measures, we are in fact the people we're making fun of, right? We're not that old, right? But we're college professors. We're essentially, I consider myself a leftist, but we're part of the liberal
co-op, and
we're part of the liberal establishment. Yeah. So it's meant to kind of poke fun. We have met some people who have enjoyed us poking fun. It's just.
And a lot of people who haven't.
And a bunch of people who get really bitter about it.
No sense of humor whatsoever.
Which I'm like, ha, you're old. No, I'm just kidding. The future belongs to the young. No, I'm kidding. I'm not being ageist. Okay, so I think that was, I don't know. I'm kind of drawn on it. I think part of it's good and I think part of it's not so good.
Yeah, I agree.
But overall, I'm happy to see some exposure for the idea of someone actually having connection with an animal and being surprised by that connection and then making positive changes in their lives. So
exactly.
I think from that perspective, it's good.
It is very good. But my advice to all of you out there, don't be ashamed to be a vegan or a vegetarian even.
Meat vegans do suffer.
Just be proud of it and own it. Be a proud freak.
I completely agree. I mean, that's the other thing. People sometimes ask us, like, what is this shit about vegan freak? What the hell does that mean? And the idea is that not that we are vegan and freaky. I mean,
we are.
But that's not exactly what we mean by it. I mean, part of what we mean by it is that to be vegan in this world means that you're making a conscious decision that goes against the flow of the way our society operates. People will think of you as a freak for that and fucking own it. Don't be afraid of it. Own that freakdom. Like, own it. Make it yours. Live with it and try to get people to understand why you are a freak in that way.
Exactly.
So it's not like, I actually, I think that we should try to normalize veganism, but I don't think that means that we should bend over backwards to do things like create Tahiti, vacations and all that stuff. I mean, I just read veg news, right? Every so often. No, I do. I read veg news every so often, and I just feel like they get confused, number one, between vegetarian and vegan, and that bothers me. Mm-hmm. Because I understand the philosophy behind it, but I don't agree with it, because veganism is a principled political statement. If people don't understand what veganism is, and you're not calling veganism, it loses some of its impact, number one.
I agree.
Number two, I also think that veg news, goes out of its way, I think, to try to normalize veganism, and that's a positive thing. But on the other hand, it's like, okay, are we going too far in the direction of normalizing it and maybe taking on some of the attributes of the rest of the culture that we maybe should shun? That's all I'm going to say.
Right. That we should be concerned with not just equality for animals, but also all the human beings that are affected by this and the capitalist society that we live in.
Absolutely.
And how it affects everyone and not, and the whole other thing about veg news that bothers me is that it takes on, it's like, we already have the stereotype that we're all, middle class, upper middle class bougie types, and they just go with that.
Well, they embrace it fully.
Yeah.
And so what I think that leads to is rightfully the idea from the right, not from the right, from the left, that many people would say that, look, vegetarianism essentially places a fetish on animal suffering, or veganism places a fetish on animal suffering and ignores the suffering of humans. Mm-hmm. I completely agree. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes that comes through very clearly. But anyway, enough of the ranting and rambling. And
we sort of got off tangent there.
We did. But that's what the show's all about.
It is.
All right.
Tangents galore.
We have a new theme song this week that we need to talk about and play, and this is from DJ McBastard. I know the punks you out there are just going to be repulsed, but I actually really like it. Mm-hmm. Here it is.
Happy meat.
And that is the theme. That music means this is our Meat Makes You Stupid segment.
We asked for a theme, and we got a theme.
And I love it.
I
think
too.
It's great.
It's awesome.
It's what real women need.
It's our Meat Makes You Stupid mascot.
Actually, speaking of Meat Making You Stupid, Mickey requested this.
In a few moments, you can come up and pet the turkey if you want to.
I love that.
That is awesome.
I don't know why. I don't like George
It's just
Bush.
the way he says it. Come up.
In a few moments, you can come up and pet the turkey if you want to.
You ever see him laugh? He laughs kind of like Beavis, or is it like Butthead? Anyway, this week in the Meat Makes You Stupid segment, to get back on track here, this is something that Charlotte sent me. Charlotte's a longtime listener to the show. She and her partner sent us a very nice holiday card, as I recall, way back when. But anyway, she sent me this, and it's a segment from a CBC show, and basically it's at this thing called Canzine West, I think, and there were a bunch of food writers there reading essays about food, and they're all like, of course, self-referential and hip and all that. And I think what this segment actually does prove is that Canada also has its fill of annoying hipsters who think they're being ironic too. But anyway, I'll play this for you. And where is the file? Oh, here it is. I had the file labeled "Stupid. See you next Tuesday," and I'll just let this roll.
Trish Kelly is a vegetarian who experimented with animal flesh in her short story called "Losing My Veginity."
I owned a cow once. When I was a kid, my mother demanded that my father stop buying me extravagant princess dresses and start buying practical gifts. So he bought me a cow from my uncle's farm. After a brief introduction, my hand reaching through the slats of the pen to pet the caramel and cream-colored calf, I wanted to take it home with me. Months later, a honk in the driveway announced the arrival of our Christmas cow, tidily wrapped in butcher's paper. There was also a horse gift later on from my father, but enough said.
What? Wait, you hear all the people in the background? What? Why are they upset about a horse murder, but not upset about cow murder? I just want to put that on the table.
Yeah.
It gets worse.
Considering my emotionally scarring childhood,
that explains
I hold relatively cerebral reasons for my vegetarianism. The ethics of meat consumption and the environmental footprint of its production have kept me veg all these years. As I've aged, it's become harder to hold on to my veginity. In my 30s now, I've become more refined in my taste and less concerned about my virtue. I drink wine now. I go to fancy restaurants. And I've realized that I can't really continue down the slippery slope of enjoying life with such a long don't list.
Eat me.
But if I'm going to lose my virginity, it's going to be as a guilt-free hedonist. I'm going to do my homework and find an ethical way to indulge.
The ethical way she chose to indulge was to feast on seafood that was harvested in a sustainable fashion. After the readings, the writers discussed why they feel writing about food is important to them.
Oops, I meant to cut that last sentence out, but I forgot.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, it doesn't really go on too much more beyond that, but where it's a veritable buffet of idiocy. Then I can just pick and choose from, pile my plate high to talk about all the stupid things that she has said.
I first need to say, you're not veg. You're a fucking meat eater.
Not vegan. Not vegan. Not vegan. Not vegan.
Sorry.
Yeah, you stopped being veg with that attitude and by ingesting meat.
But, okay, here's the thing that annoys me, though. It's like, my tastes have become more refined. That is what she said.
Yes, I know.
And my don't list was too long.
It's apparently become hip to not care.
Yeah. I just find the whole thing so frustrating because, okay, first it's like, first she makes light of the whole issue. Mm-hmm. But second, the whole idea that her tastes matter more to her than her ethics is disgusting to me.
It's reprehensible.
It's reprehensible. And I think, I don't know what I think. I just think it just...
tampering in dark-sided stuff!
That's what I think. She's tampering in dark-sided stuff. No.
Well, you know what? You can be a hedonist and be a vegan.
You absolutely can.
If that's the road you want to go down, you can do it.
But here, okay, if she wants to be a hedonist and she wants to eat at fancy restaurants and all that, I'm angry. I'm sorry.
I know. But she puts, the drinking the wine and the eating of the foie gras and all of that above any type of ethical consideration whatsoever, and she knows better. That's the thing too. Yep. She knows better.
She does. And she knows better and she's playing it. That's the thing. She's using it as a ploy to get attention from the people where she's talking.
Exactly.
And it secretly confirms all of their beliefs about vegetarians.
Yep.
Like, oh, you are joyless people. Oh, you do have too many restrictions. Oh, you are, in fact, the food police.
Yeah, full of deprivation.
And you're all deprived, right?
Mm-hmm.
And depraved. And, well, we are. Mm-hmm. Depraved. We're all deprived, and that little story confirms that belief in the mind of every single omnivore in that audience who's always thought all that shit about vegetarianism or veganism, and there she is confirming it for every single one of them.
Exactly. Oh, I used to be this caring person, but I've grown up and grown out of that silly, utopian view.
I used to care. Now I eat infants.
Jesus.
Yeah. So I have a lot of disdain for people like that. I mean, especially when you try to wrap some kind of analysis around it. It's ridiculous. So. Yes, you lost your virginity. How fucking cute.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Now go fuck yourself.
We're done with that segment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Happy meat.
That's what real women need.
And that was our Meat Makes You Stupid segment. And clearly it does.
Mm-hmm.
So, moving on. Are we going to do some voicemails?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to play the voicemail theme song.
We've got all kinds of themes
It's been a long
today.
time since we've played it, so let's play it.
Okay.
Time once again for some vegan freak voicemail. Maybe we'll hear from a hot chick.
Or a choice male.
Callers make us happy and help us keep our sanity, even if all they wanna do is fucking complain about the shitload of profanity.
So let's see. We got a bunch of voicemails this week. I'm trying to figure out what order we should play these in. Should we go serious first and then funny later?
Why don't we do that?
Let's do that. All right, we'll go with serious first. A couple longer voicemails this week. Two of them, one is almost 5 minutes long and one's 3 minutes long. I just want to say, it's not that we mind the longer voicemails, but in general, shorter voicemails, like under 2 minutes, are probably best. So,
yeah.
Not that we're casting aspersions upon those who have left longer voicemails for us. Just from a production perspective, 2 minutes is a good amount of time or less. So if you do want to leave us voicemail, that's cool. But 2 minutes or less would be really, really good. But let's we'll go with Melissa first.
Hey, Bob and Jenna. This is Melissa, and I'm calling from New York City. I just wanted to call and let you know that I read your book last summer, and it was one of the things that happened that made me become vegan. It was one of the influences that I had, and so thank you so much for the book. And I recently came to your website and found your podcast. I had forgotten that you had one, and so I've been listening to all the back episodes and love them all. And I was just leaving you this message about the health show. The story really resonated with me, with you both, about your cholesterol, and because I feel like I'm a genetic freak. My story is I had my cholesterol first taken 6 years ago when I was 21. And my total cholesterol was 310, which was unbelievable. And so my doctor called me in. She gave me a few brochures that, were like, they were from 1972 or something, with no guidance about how to change my diet. And so I was sent away to make the changes, and then
I think doctors do that all. The doctor did that to me too. Mm-hmm. She's like, "Go eat low carb." Oh, what? I looked at her. What does that mean?
Low carb.
Go eat low carb. Like doctors. You need to do more on the nutrition front.
Yep.
And in quotes, and then came back, and my cholesterol number hadn't changed, and so I was promptly put on Zocor. At 21, and I took it for about 4 months, and it just made me feel weird, and so I didn't really stick with it, but it made my cholesterol come down about 20 points or something, not dramatic at all after 4 months. But it was after that 4-month period that I left my doctor. I actually moved from Kansas City to New York City, and I didn't have health insurance, so I just kind of avoided my cholesterol and dealing with it for 2 years until I got a job that gave me health insurance. And so I found a great doctor who, again, I had to face the whole cholesterol test. and my cholesterol count at that time was 260. And, my doctor worked with me on a diet, and that's when I changed my diet from an omnivore diet, well, still kind of an omnivore diet, but I eliminated all meat and dairy except for fish and eggs. And that was about 3 years ago. As I mentioned, I became vegan last summer after reading more about veganism and, more nutritional books. I think that's kind of what, made me, kind of pushed me. And after becoming vegan, my cholesterol dropped from that 260 to 225, and it's been the same 225 since I think October, and it's so frustrating because granted it is 40 points, and that's not something to balk at, but my doctor just kind of looked at me and he's like, well, it's your heredity, it's and just kind of shrugged his shoulders, and he's like, we'll continue to take tests and everything, but you're doing everything right. You're a vegan, patting me on the back, good job. But, after listening to your podcast, I'm just, looking at reevaluating my diet because the results that you had were just, great. And I was, again, I was just shrugging my shoulders. It's like, what can I do? I'm not going to go on medicine or anything like that. So, I'm starting to take steps, and I bought one of Dr. Barnard's books, and I didn't know that Vicente Molinas took patients for some reason. And after reading Becoming Vegan, I thought she only, was an author, and so I'm kind of gathering funds to have her evaluate my diet, and so I'm just so excited, and thank you so much for sharing that story. It's so helpful in knowing that even as a vegan, it doesn't eliminate you from some of the health issues that are out there. So thank you so much, and keep on doing the podcast. I love them. So I'll talk to you later. Okay, thanks. Bye.
Thanks, Melissa.
It's awesome. Thank you.
I appreciate the kind words, and I'm glad you've picked up some of the books like by Barnard and by Vicente Molina. I think, I have family members who have cholesterol that's as high as yours. And I think I probably would be there if I hadn't switched to kind of a lower fat, more thoughtful vegan diet.
Yeah. I don't know. The thought of going on medicine just scares the shit out of me. So
me too, actually. And, some of the medicine, I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday about some of these medicines, and he raised the point that, in fact, a lot of these things are toxic to your liver as well, potentially, and you have to have blood tests every so often. So it's like if you can defeat it without relying upon the medicines, all the better for you. And
exactly.
If you're willing to make those changes in your life, that's fucking awesome.
It is. Not to mention the fact that a lot of deaths occur because doctors make mistakes in mixing medicines that shouldn't be mixed.
That's true too. Yes.
Or that make mistakes because you have to go to the hospital because you have these problems, and it's just kind of scary. It's all I want to avoid that as much as I can possibly can.
Yeah. Isn't that called iatrogenic iatrogenic death or something?
I don't know.
Could be wrong about that. Been a while since I've taken the GREs. So anyway, thanks for that, Melissa. We have another voicemail. This one's from Chloe. She was on the show last time, wasn't she, or was it time before? She was on the show before. She lives in the South. She's not originally from the South, right? But anyway, she's talking here about something that's pretty fucked up.
Hey Bob, hey Jenna, this is Chloe calling you guys again, and just wanted to drop a line this week. I came across this posting on the Despair Faction message board that I'm on for my favorite band, AFI, which the lead singer and the bassist are vegan, so that's pretty cool. But anyway, someone had posted a link to this video on E-Bomb's World that, usually has pretty, funny or entertaining videos, but this one that was posted was of what they called the turkey boomerang. And it's basically like this little thing that you throw through the air, and it's this video of like it just flying through the air and taking off turkeys' heads, like just decapitating them with this boomerang. And it's really sick, and it's like actual footage, and it was just really disturbing, and I just didn't understand, like, what's even the motivation to come up with something like that. But, yeah, I just decided to send that over because I just found it kind of relevant, and just want to say hi, and I have to go stop my puppy Ziggy Stardust from chewing up my sneakers again, so I'm going to let you go now. Okay, bye.
Well, I hope your sneakers are okay. And tell Ziggy we said hi. I watched this video. Yeah. Wow. It is fucked up.
Sick.
It's pictures. It's strange. Like the video begins with a turkey just kind of standing there, a wild turkey. And all of a sudden its head just pops up. And it falls over. And it's like repeated scenes of this turkey head just popping off because people are throwing these stupid bladed boomerangs at this thing.
That's horrible.
It is horrible. And then there are these two, like, later on in the video, these two kind of rednecky type guys in a, I think it's, I guess you'd call it a blind or something, kind of little hunting shack thing.
Yeah, blind,
And they're in there and they're like, woohoo, you know, giving each other high fives and stuff for killing these turkeys. It's fucking disgusting. It's sick. And I wonder, like, what is the motivation behind that? Like, what kind of sicko wants to decapitate turkeys for fun? And these guys are clearly into it. It is sick shit.
I don't know. Oh, but at least they died quickly.
And it's hunters.
Horrible.
They're not hunters. They're sportsmen.
Right.
Okay. Well, anyway, I don't know if I want to post a link to that in the show notes. It's like the kind of thing that I'll tell you what. If you want it, come to the forums and you can ask for it. How's that?
Alrighty.
And here we have a voicemail from Ashley.
Hi, vegan freaks. This is Ashley McCord, voicemailing you guys again from Calgary, Alberta, up here in Canada. Love your show. And I'm just in the middle of listening to podcast number 67, and it's just after the young woman who lives in one of the southern states and who feels really persecuted
Chloe.
Because of her vegan lifestyle, just because the whole culture where she lives in is so meat-centered. And I just wanted to say that I totally feel where she's coming from because I'm a double freak with my friends. I'm Christian. I love Jesus. And I'm trying to become a vegan. And they just don't understand how I could connect those two ideas and, you know, really think that we treat God's creatures in a disgusting manner. And that's not what he put these animals on the earth for. In my Christian and non-Christian circles of friends, I mean, they both look at me like, you're crazy. Am I not? Or my Christian friends will say, well, God put these creatures on the planet for us to eat and for us to enjoy. And that just doesn't make any sense because we're slaughtering them and we're keeping them in, you know, disgusting conditions. And we're not treating them the way that we are intended to, and we're not caring for the earth like we're supposed to. And, you know, both sides of, or both my non-Christian and Christian friends will ask me, well, what about buying happy meat? And to me that seems like such an oxymoron because
happy meat,
truly a happy cow doesn't get slaughtered. It lives a happy life, or a chicken lives a happy life doing its own thing, running around, being an animal, and doesn't get slaughtered at the end of the day. Happy meat just doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, they might have a larger pen to roll around in, or they might, you know, have a little bit of a green space to walk around in, but they're still getting slaughtered. Happy meat isn't happy. They're still miserable animals unless they're completely free to roam around and do whatever it is that they do naturally. I don't think that they're happy at all. So, yeah. I hope that you guys are having a good day and that this message doesn't sound completely lame, but I just want to encourage you guys that you're preaching a good message. I don't know if preaching is a good word.
Probably not for us.
No. Anti-religion. So I'm thinking that I'm maybe digging myself into a little bit of a hole here. But anyway, I think you guys are great, and I love how you guys do your show, and I hope that you guys can keep doing it. Yeah. So I guess I'll look forward to your next podcast. See you.
Well, thanks, Ashley. I'm not a huge fan of religion in general.
No, me either. But if that's your thing, that's great. But it's not our thing.
But I think there's an interesting a couple interesting ideas in the voicemail that Ashley left for us.
Yeah.
One of them being that, and this is something I see and hear fairly often, a lot of people get a lot of shit from Christians where they live in areas where there are a lot of Christians, or if they are Christians themselves, they often get this, well, those creatures are put here for us to eat. We're stewards of the earth and all that other stuff.
Yeah, which means we take care of them, not slaughter them and put them in horrendous conditions.
Right.
Like she said, yeah.
And she raised that point really well, I thought. So I think that's something that, absolutely is an interesting thing if you're of the religious persuasion, which I don't happen to be. However, there are a lot of people that are, and in a lot of places that holds sway. And my inclination is usually, people have asked me about that before. I've had students who said to me, well, my veganism has come up in class, and they said to me, well, the Bible says that it's okay to consume animals. And I said, yeah, but the Bible says all kinds of things.
Okay, it's also get out slaves, and
the Bible also justifies slavery, and so I said, I'm probably not the right person to have the argument with you about the Bible. I think the Bible can be used to justify a number of things, but it does come up fairly often for people.
And I think Ashley's responses are really good.
They are. They absolutely are.
Especially with regard to happy meat.
Absolutely. And I think it's worth turning those things around on the people who are bringing them at you. If, in fact, you're getting these things and you want to, even if you're not Christian and you want to talk to Christians about this, who are talking to you about it, why not turn around and say, this isn't the way that God intended us to treat these creatures, if that's what you actually believe. So I think some good points in there. And thank you for listening to the show, Ashley. You must be very open-minded indeed.
Yeah, if you can listen
to us. So that's funny. Okay. We have 2 voicemails from Mike.
Well, you should play the one from Tamara first if we're going to do the serious ones first. Or did you not put them on there?
Where is that one?
I don't know. I gave them to you. Did you not put them in there? We had 2, one from Patrick and one from Tamara.
I don't see it.
Oh, no.
Where did they go? Oh, no. Oh, yeah, here it is.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Good.
Hold on. I'm coming. Okay, let's play these, and then we get 2 from Mike. Alrighty then. Okay, Patrick first or Tamara? Tamara?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Hey, Bob and Jenna, this is Tamara, who usually calls from Madison, Wisconsin, but I'm on a road trip, and I'm headed down to Florida. I've thought about you guys so many times during this trip. It makes me so sick right now. I feel like I'm going to cry, because I'm driving on the road on the borderline, between Georgia and Florida, and I have never in my life seen this.
This is perhaps the only good use of a cell phone, to call Vegan Freak Radio.
Yeah, right.
I've heard about it, I've seen it on videos, and I've never seen it in real life, and I feel like I'm about to lose it. I just passed a truck with a bunch of chickens on it, all crammed up in little spaces, and it just makes me so heartbroken, so angry, and I kind of slowed down to go the pace of the truck just so that I could look, because I was so shocked to see this, actually going on. And I know it goes on, and I know people eat chickens, but those poor little things were so helpless, and their feathers were just kind of going in the breeze, and I kind of caught eye contact with one of the chickens whose head was kind of hanging out, and my heart just ripped out, and I can't handle myself right now. There's nobody that understands that, and my whole family isn't vegan, and it's really just one of those moments, where you're like, God, I'm a vegan, and that helps. I'm aware of this, and you do the best you can, but the stuff still goes on, and it makes me so mad.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw a billboard that said, "It's not over till the chicken gets eaten," and there was a picture of a cow eating a chicken, and I was like, yeah, that's really going to happen. It was an advertisement for a chicken fast food place down here in the South in Georgia. Crazy. Anyways, it's just a little bit of a rant for you, because I really needed to vent just now, and you guys are like my friends, and I love your podcast, of course, as usual, but anyways, I hope that you guys are having a great day, and I love listening to the podcast, and thought I'd share that tidbit.
Well, thanks for sharing that. I've been in those situations too, where I've seen truck full of cattle and things like that, and that is just...
Even the empty trucks make me sad, because you know that they either just dropped off the animals or they're going to pick them up.
Exactly.
And yeah, it rips my heart out too. I can't stand looking at it. Like, I've been in tears on the road before.
It's really sad.
Yeah.
It is really sad.
And, I mean, Ira Glass joked about it being Armageddon if you're like, talking about the chicken, but it's so true.
Well, think about 10 billion animals in the United States, and, most of those are chickens.
Yeah, it's really sad.
And buffalo wings and all that crap. I mean, it makes me very angry. So I feel your anger.
Yes. So there are people out there, like you said, that no one you could talk to at the moment would understand, but there are plenty of us out there who feel the exact same way.
Absolutely. And if you feel that way, you should call us or run over to our webpage and leave a My Chingo message. All right. This one's from Patrick.
Yes.
Oh, hey guys. I'm listening to the new podcast. It's Patrick, San Diego. I listened to the new podcast, and Sarah Kramer's awesome, by the way. She's so cool. She's so cool. I love her. And I don't know.
Are you high?
I had to stop, dude, because she just was describing that dish with the potatoes and the tofu and the mustard seeds. Oh, my God. It was like everything she said, every new ingredient, every new step to take to make it tastier. Wow.
Munchies.
Oh, my gosh. I'm going to go to the grocery store right now and get some kale and some new potatoes.
It is good, by the way. We made
that.
It's
with
really
the same
good.
thing. We're like, listen to it, like, ooh, this, we have to eat this now.
And by the way, Patrick, I'm just fucking with you. I know he can. Patrick's a good guy. He can take it.
And I'm going to be eating that within, like, let's see, grocery store. 5 minutes there, 10 minutes inside, 5 minutes back, 3 minutes. 3 minutes for pet, 8 minutes to cook, she said. Within 60 minutes. Yum. All right, thanks, guys. I'm so glad you guys are here. I'm so glad that, well, for so many reasons, because you guys do a lot of really great stuff. I mean, you guys are mega stars for fucking veganism. Awesome. But, I love Sarah Kramer. Man, she makes good food. All right, thanks, guys. Gotta go to the store. Bye.
Thanks, Patrick.
And Sarah Kramer does make really good food. You're right.
Absolutely.
She's awesome.
Well, thank you so much for that voicemail. That was really, really kind of you. And I hope you had it and enjoyed it.
Yeah. In fact, I was listening to this voicemail yesterday, and I was like, maybe we should have that for dinner.
Is that why you recommended that for dinner yesterday?
We're gonna save that for tomorrow, I think.
We could have it tonight for dinner?
We could.
That actually sounds pretty good.
It does.
It's already 5. Oh, it's only 4:30.
Okay, not so bad.
So, is that right? This clock on Windows is an hour off, so I think it's 3:30.
It's 4:30.
I fucking hate Windows. All right, and here's Mike.
Hi, guys.
Oh, wait, first off, the quality's a little shitty. I had to really adjust this one. It was really, really faint, so it's kind of hissy and loud, and I apologize. But I think you'll be able to hear it fine.
This is Mike from the forums, or Mike as I'm known in my regular life. And while I was sitting reading crap on MySpace today, I had an epiphany. And what I was thinking is if we could convince some of the new welfareists, like, I don't know, Peter Singer or Eric Marcus or somebody, to fist fight me for charity. It'd be a pretty simple event, $10 door fee. And the winner of the fist fight would get to donate the money collected at the door to a charity of their choice. I figure, if they win, they could give it to, I don't know, egg producers or somebody, and if I won, we could give it to, I don't know, an animal sanctuary or something. And I know you guys know people in the movement, so maybe you could make this fiesta happen. Anyway, talk to you later. Bye.
My money's on you, Mike.
But how many of you out there would pay to watch? Peter Singer versus Mike. That'd be funny.
That would be funny.
Okay.
Or maybe we could just do like mud wrestling or something.
Could be. I don't know if Mike would want to mud wrestle Peter Singer. There might be some mutually satisfying relationship.
I don't know.
Well, actually, maybe it might not. Mike might not be into the mutually satisfactory. Peter Singer, I don't know. Sorry.
Hi guys, this is Mike from the forums again, or Mike as I'm known in my regular life. And I had one more idea I wanted to share with you. I was thinking about the green scare and how the government is so hell-bent on wasting all this money.
By the way, Vegan Freak Radio does not necessarily endorse the following tactics.
Surveilling us. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if we could help them by inventing fake terrorist cells? Now, basically, all we'd have to do is you and 3 of your buddies would have to behave in a way that you think terrorists behave. Make cryptic phone calls, use public key encryption, email, act suspicious, and you know.
I already do all those things.
Just talk about actions on the telephone or the internet that you have no intention of committing. And in essence, what I think we can do as a movement, if enough of us do this, is bankrupt the government, or at least bankrupt their surveillance budget. And maybe then they'd see the fallacy of surveilling a movement that in God knows how many decades has never taken a human life, and go back to, I don't know, monitoring the white supremacist movement who kills people every year. It was just a thought. I'll talk to you later, guys. Bye-bye.
Yeah, you know, eco-terrorism is now the #1 domestic terror threat in the United States.
Great.
That's what the FBI says.
Yes.
I mean, meanwhile, we have people like right-wing, far right-wing white supremacists who are no longer really on the radar anymore. Because
even though they, blew up that, that building in Oklahoma City. Remember that one?
Yeah. Oh, that one. Yeah. Right. I mean, crazy shit like that. Actually, though, some of what Mike describes could be illegal under the Animal Enterprises Terrorism Act. It could be considered a conspiracy.
This is true. This is true.
I'm tisking a lot today.
You are.
Why? I don't usually do that. Ever.
Tisk. I don't know.
Sorry. Yeah, man, but, I do most of that stuff anyway. Like, I use public key encryption. I make random weird phone calls to my friends.
You don't.
I know. Okay. So let's move on. What do we do? Oh, yeah, we're done with the voicemails, are we not?
Yes.
267-295-1944. Write the number down on your refrigerator door. Add the 001 country code if you call us from Vienna. That's how you leave a voicemail for good old Bob and Jenna.
Jenna's throwing me dirty looks. I think she thinks that the FBI is going to bust down our front door because I just said I do some of that stuff anyway. All I do is send public key encrypted emails. That is not illegal.
I know.
Okay, relax, Jenna. You worry too much. You really do.
I know.
Anyway, if you want to leave us a voicemail, our number is there. That you can also use that Java applet on our site at veganfreakradio.com. And in general, the quality on those is quite a lot better. So, and it doesn't cost you anything.
Not at all.
So there you go. So stop by and leave us a voicemail. What else we got for you this week?
Dino. We finally got in touch with Dino.
We did indeed.
We who cook with Dino are the luckiest people in the world.
Okay, we're here with Dino, and Dino is the author of the upcoming cookbook, Alternative Vegan, published by Tofu Hound Press. And welcome, Dino.
Hi, Jenna. Hi, Bob.
Hey, Dino.
So let's, I guess, start off with talking about your cookbook. It's coming out soon. It's in pre-orders right now. And so what makes your cookbook different than some of the other vegan cookbooks out there? Why is it alternative?
First and foremost, because I don't use any meat alternatives. Haha. There's no tofu, there's no seitan, there's no soy milk, and there's nothing that I would consider an omnisub, and I'm sure you've heard me rant about it enough times. But in addition to that, it's meant to be varied. You're not supposed to follow the recipe as much as you can. You're supposed to sort of follow the instructions and then vary it to your own liking and then take credit for it.
So your idea is basically to give people kind of a template to work from. I mean, you have complete recipes, but you also, in a lot of the recipes, encourage people to kind of experiment, right?
Yes, not only experiment, but sort of add their own touches to it, and I show you how to do it so that you don't screw it up at the end. Because, there's times when you want to do substitutions, there's times when you want to sort of tweak it a bit, but you're not quite sure if it's going to work, you're not sure if it's going to taste good, whatever. But the way I lay it out is, okay, here's the places you can make the variations of substitution, and here's those kinds of places that you really want to stick to the stuff that I've told you to do.
Excellent. Well, why don't we save the cookbook talk? We're going to have you back on in about 2 weeks or so. Right after the book's out, we'll have you back on to talk in depth about the book. But today, let's talk about some of the things that you, some tips you have, some ideas, some things that have kind of been floating around.
Well, when you did that health vegan show,
I can't believe you listened to it.
Show. I did listen to it. I loved it.
That's shocking.
I thought it was wonderful.
Well, thank you, Dina.
Yeah, I never thought that I would, actually be able to sit through it and listen without screaming or something. When I did scream a couple of times because of some of the stuff you said, like, oh, we left fat, this and that, and I'm like, oh, no, stop.
Yeah, I remember you were in the chat room yelling at me, steam frying, what?
I didn't know what to think. But then I started reading the thread, and I saw that you had made a comment about how you used a lot of my recipes from the book, but with just a little spray of the non-fat cooking spray stuff.
Yeah.
Turns out that it works really well, which leads me into the recipe segment for this week. I wanted to talk about making a very, very low-fat hummus to the point where it's almost fat-free.
Cool.
Same thing with a very low-fat dal, where, again, it's almost fat-free, and oven marinara.
Excellent. Well, let's hear about your hummus. It sounds good.
Okay. I find that hummus really relies on fat for flavor because you really don't fuss with the chickpeas too much, and you're depending on the fat because you just take the cooked chickpeas and kind of throw them in there. But I found that if you take that same method that you use with a non-fat cooking spray in a skillet, you take a skillet and you spray with that non-fat cooking spray, and you throw in a couple of teaspoons of cumin seeds and a couple of tablespoons of sesame seeds, and that's it. You just let them get kind of roasted and pop for a while, and then you throw in the chickpeas and start just tossing it through. This is almost like the recipe for the dry roasted garbanzos from the book. So you toss it all the way through, and you add in 2 or 3 cloves of crushed garlic at the end because that's when you're going to get a stronger garlicky flavor.
Okay.
And just let it cook through for about another minute or so. You want the chickpeas to be kind of a light brown when you're done roasting them. Then you take them out of there, and you throw it into a food processor, throw in like a couple of splashes of lemon, and maybe about, half a cup of water for a pound of chickpeas, and just whiz it up in there until the thing becomes a hummus. And you don't need to add any tahini, you don't need to add any olive oil because it's got that flavor of being cooked in the fat, but you don't have all that fat in there.
Nice. And the chickpeas kind of have a little bit of a roasted flavor to them as well, right?
Exactly, and that roasted flavor makes up for a lot of that fat that you left out altogether, and that sesame seed gives it that nuttiness without being like a tahini where it's going to be that heavy fat. It's just a little tiny bit of sesame seed.
Excellent. So how do you then use this to make your dal? You said it's a similar kind of
yes. My mother actually came up with this one by accident, actually. She was having some guests over, and she really didn't have that many spices sitting around. So she said, okay, let me just try this and see if it works. And I adapted it to that low-fat technique that you were talking about. You put in a couple of sprays of that fat-free cooking spray, and you throw in small handful of cumin seeds, and you let them pop. And that takes about 30 seconds or so because you don't have that much fat to heat up in the first place, so the cumin seeds get roasted much faster. Then you throw in about a pound of cooked beans along with the cooking water. Let's say for about 1 pound of beans, you're going to have about 3 to 6 cups of water left over. Well, you just throw that in there and throw in a tablespoon of coriander powder and about a teaspoon of cumin powder and let the entire thing come to a full rolling boil and just let it sit there and boil for about 5 minutes and you're done. It is absolutely wonderful. I've been eating the stuff nonstop all last week with some rice, and it's so good.
That does sound really good.
Mm-hmm.
So
I never thought it would work, Bob.
But it works.
It works.
Yes, now I'm a believer.
We were skeptical too, though. I mean, we actually thought that cooking with less fat would take a lot of the flavor out of it. But when we did it, we found that it worked out pretty well in most cases.
It worked out really well because it didn't sink in that you're not getting the flavor from the fat. You're getting the flavor from the spices.
Right.
Exactly.
And you just have to think of another way to get them kind of integrated in the dish because traditionally that's what the fat would do, I would think. Exactly.
And the thing with the regular dal is that because you have so much fat, you can add a lot of different spices in layers, in different layers. But the thing is, there's nothing wrong with doing it, without certain of those spices and just using those spices that work really well in low-fat situations.
Cool.
Something like cinnamon or a clove or something like that, it's not going to do so well with low-fat because it's really strong, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And you need that fat to kind of mellow it out. But things like cumin, mustard seeds, sesame seeds, turmeric, those kinds of things, coriander powder, definitely, they have those really smoky flavors that lend themselves really good to low-fat cooking.
Excellent. And you also mentioned that you had some kind of marinara in
yes,
mind.
when I make marinara sauce on the stove, what you're traditionally supposed to do is you get a bunch of olive oil, you throw some garlic and onions in there, and you let it simmer for a while. Then you throw in some tomatoes, and the tomatoes splatter, and they make a mess all over your stove, and your pasta's done, and now your entire kitchen's a huge giant mess. What I found is that if I take like a roasting pan of some kind, and you heat it up over 2 burners because those roasting pans are pretty big, and you get it good and hot, and you spray on some of that non-fat cooking spray, throw in maybe, half an onion chopped, and, a clove or 2 of garlic. Let it sizzle for about 5-10 minutes on medium heat, then throw in 2 cans of crushed tomatoes, about 12 ounces each, and throw in a handful of fresh basil. Just stir it through until it comes to a boil, then turn off the stove and throw it into a 350-degree oven for about 15 minutes.
Oh, cool. So while that's happening, you can boil your pasta and make a salad and all that.
Exactly. And so just when your pasta and your salad are both done, the marinara sauce is going to be cooked down enough. And the good thing about doing the marinara sauce this way is that your tomatoes aren't going to break down too much. So you have those great big chunks of tomatoes in there, along with the little bursts of garlic. And since you use fresh basil, you're also going to... Basil and tomato, match made in heaven.
Absolutely. No
They're
question.
They're so wonderful together.
Cool.
Well, that sounds really good. And these sound like great ideas for if you're like in a hurry and you want a hearty meal when you come home from work, but you're still, can make a great meal in not a lot of time.
Well, exactly. And the other thing is that when you're doing this type of marinara sauce, you want to avoid like angel hair or another really thin type of noodle. Go for a really hearty noodle like broken up lasagna or tagliatelle or, ziti or something like that where it can stand up to some really hearty, rich sauce like that.
Cool. And what about this whole notion of, tossing? Do you toss the pasta with the sauce or do you put the sauce on top of the pasta? Personally, I like to toss the pasta with the sauce. I think that gives you more flavor. What do you think of this?
Personally, I like it both ways. When it's on top, it'll be for those heartier sauces. Like, say, for example, you took my same marinara sauce that I told you about.
Yeah.
And say, for example, you threw in like 2 or 3 cups of cooked quinoa. It'd give it this kind of like meaty texture. I know I'm against omni subs, but you know what I'm talking about?
So you're saying that if you were throwing cooked quinoa, you would almost have, it would be like there was ground beef in there or something.
It'll almost be like a bolognese or something where you have those little chunkies in there. The good thing about the quinoa, though, is that if you throw it in at the same time as the tomatoes, they absorb the flavor of the tomatoes. Maybe throw in about a 1/4 cup to a 1/2 cup of red wine along with it, and do that same oven technique. And it's going to have this delicate flavor with that richness of the quinoa and that hardiness of the tomatoes, freshness of the basil. It would be a beautiful thing.
Cool. Are you outside or something? Are you windsurfing?
Yeah, it's kind of windy.
Yeah.
Are you down on South Beach windsurfing, Dino?
I'm out on the beach. It's really nice. And the thing is that, when you have some kind of sauce like that, you don't really want to toss it around too much because then it's going to get a little bit homogenized. And you want to have those distinct bites of, a little bite of pasta, a little bite of that quinoa, a little bite of the tomato. But when you're having, let's say, just a straight marinara, or say, for example, I do like a vegetable sauce, what you do is you get a bunch of vegetables, zucchini, squash, maybe some eggplant, possibly some mushrooms, garlic, onions, and toss them all through, and then throw it in the oven, roast them up, and toss them with pasta. I definitely want to toss it that way.
Cool.
That sounds really good.
It does sound really
hungry.
Good.
It actually is.
You also mentioned earlier that some people wonder what the hell you eat for breakfast. Since you don't do soy milk, you don't do all that crap. What do you have? What is like a normal Dino breakfast?
Generally, it'll be a bowl of steel-cut oatmeal with dried cranberries, some walnuts or pecans or almonds, and a little tiny dash of cinnamon, and I'm good to go.
That sounds great.
That sounds yummy.
Yeah.
It's really filling, so it keeps me going until about 12 or 1 o'clock when lunchtime rolls around. And it's not a simple carb like white bread or something that's going to hit you with that shot of insulin and then have you crash by mid-morning.
Yeah.
Another thing I like to do is black beans and rice.
For breakfast?
Yes, actually. I find that if I wake myself up with really strong flavors, it keeps me going, more energetically during the day.
Cool.
the stronger the flavors, the better. So, I like to have some, really hot chilies on the side with some chopped onions and some chopped tomatoes and chopped cucumbers, tossed in a little bit of lemon and cilantro, along with the black beans and rice. So I feel really good and full, but it doesn't weigh me down.
Sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm
the reason I say black beans is because I think it was Dr. Neil Barnard who did that Breaking the Food Production book.
Yeah, I think you did.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I read it because we had it around the house, and he mentioned black beans have a lot of fiber, and they don't have that much of that glycemic index thingy.
Cool.
So it'll keep you sustained for a good long time. And, of course, beans are an excellent source of protein, excellent source of iron. And if you get those kinds of nutrients in you really early in the morning, especially along with something like a tomato, which has the vitamin C, and cucumbers, which, have a lot of water in them, and the onions, which just taste really amazing, it just keeps you going for a good long time. And so by the time lunch rolls around, you don't feel like, attacking a giant, greasy anything. You'll be okay with like a light salad or something, and you're good to go till dinner.
Absolutely. And I have a question for you. Are there people around you? Are they looking at you like you're crazy?
Oh, no. It's really nice and quiet and isolated.
Oh, okay, so you're not anywhere where there are a lot of people?
Right.
Oh, that's a shame. We could ask you to do like a man on the street interview. You could, walk up and talk to somebody, but...
I'd like to make it home in one piece, please.
Yeah, I was thinking that
point.
too.
So, all right. Well, thank you so much. These have been great tips, as
And
always.
We'll have you back again in probably about 2 weeks when your book finally starts making it onto the store shelves and out into the real world. So we want to have you back to talk in depth about your book. I just thought it's been a long time since we've caught up with Dino, and so we should have Dino.
Of course.
It's a good thing I'm here.
Everybody needs some Dino in their life.
They do.
Especially with my cooking.
That's right. So cool stuff, man. Thanks for the time, Dino. Much appreciated.
Of course.
And if anyone wants to get in touch with Dino, it is diva@veganfreak.com. I think that still works. Anyway, diva@veganfreak.com. Send Dino your questions, ideas, thoughts, and we will get Dino back on the show. We need to get more regular about doing this with you, Dino.
Of course.
Yes.
And in order to make that a reality, we need compelling comments, questions, and ideas from our listeners. So...
And if you don't want to send me an email, shoot me a PM on the forums. I'm there all the time.
I
have no life.
All the time. And IRC, he's in IRC a lot during the day, our chat room.
Right.
So there you go.
All right. See
Thanks,
you all
Dino.
3 weeks next time.
So now our cast iron skillets are treated and our ovens are all preheated. Throw away that fake meat, it'd bring out the vicious wrath of Dino. Vegan freaks love Dino, 'cause he sure can cucino. Grazie, Dino. Molto squisito.
Okay, enough of that. So?
Yes, thank you, Dino. And like we said at the beginning of the show, the cookbook out soon. And
Very, 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 very soon.
So, yes.
We've cleaned up all of Dino's Britishisms in the book.
We just like to pick on him for that kind of thing.
Of course, we always pick on Dino.
Of course.
He's fun to pick on. So, are we done with the show now?
I believe so. And it was a much better show than what we tried yesterday because the dogs are actually sitting here sound asleep and they look so cute.
They do.
And
Yesterday,
yesterday
I was pissed at them. Oh my god. Oh.
But yeah, so doggies, good show. But I think we're done.
Yep, I think we're done.
All right.
I'm trying to find the right
okay.
button.
You can give us a call, 267-295-9044.
Stop!
Or like Bob said, leave us a message on the My Chingo thingy. You all right there?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm still working with the new software. It requires...
Okay.
There are buttons I can push and fuck things up, and I just did.
Okay.
So, anyway, leave us a voicemail on the My Chingo thing, 267-295-9044. Send us email, show@veganfreakradio.com. Stop by our forums and say hi.
Yep. Check out our show notes, veganfreakradio.com.
Yep. I will list those blogs I talked about there, and links to Breakbeat Ninja's album, links to that Inked Ink project. If you're curious to see the pictures of me, they're on my blog at bobtorres, TORRES.net.
I guess that's about it.
think that's all we have for this week. So be in touch with us. And I don't know. It's about all I have. I'm done. I'm like, I'm all out.
Just stay happy, healthy vegans.
Absolutely. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Just because he doesn't eat it doesn't mean he doesn't beat it.